to the series, How to Teach Preschool Ballet. So far, we've talked about how to prepare for classes, how to organize your class, and how to actually teach ballet to preschoolers. Now we're going to get more into how to keep the class listening and engaged so we can actually cover our material. Like I've said before, teaching preschool dance is completely different than teaching dance to older students. It's an art. The goals are to teach your curriculum and keep the students paying attention to you the whole class while still having fun. How do you keep a preschooler paying attention for your entire class? Whether or not you're able to achieve your objective will depend mostly on how you run your class. If you follow all the points I've mentioned so far, you'll succeed in keeping a well-run class the majority of the time. In this video, I'll go a bit further to ensure your success. In this first video, we're going to talk about the mind of the preschooler. If you understand the preschooler, you'll have more success dealing with them. In part 2, I'll talk about so-called tricks I use to keep the class listening. In part 3, I'll touch on special situations such as children who are shy or are more likely to test you. If you put these suggestions together along with the material I've already covered, you'll be on your way to a great class. So, first, let's talk about how a preschooler thinks and what they love. Know your audience, going inside the mind of a preschooler. In order to be a successful teacher, you'll have to know your students inside and out. Preschoolers are no exception. In fact, I feel it's even more important to know the preschooler than it is to know the minds of older students. The way the preschooler thinks is different. This is because they're in the very early stages of growth and development. Sometimes the way they process doesn't make sense to those of us that are older. I learned early in my career knowing how the preschooler thinks helped me teach my classes immensely. Be one step ahead. Always anticipate what the students are going to do before they do it. This will come with time and experience. With experience, you'll soon see what preschoolers like to do and what they should not do in class. Be prepared at each activity for unwanted behavior and remind the students what they should be doing. Here are some examples. Preschoolers love to run around in an open room like a dance studio if you don't tell them where to be. You need to be prepared and ask them to sit between activities or be ready to go right into the next activity. This is why I have the students sit with me or on spots immediately when they come into class, because I know they're going to run around if I don't tell them otherwise. If you take them out of the room, for example, to the bathroom, they'll likely run down the halls. They will also talk loudly if not reminded to use their inside voices. Remind them before you go out into the hall what's expected of them. Have them line up and go over the rules. How do we walk down the hall? We walk in line and use our inside voices. Another example is when I use props. I know some preschoolers are going to bang my shakers on the floor or put them in their mouths. Therefore, I go over the rules before we use them. I also know they're going to run on top of my parachute and fall down if I don't remind them to stay off of it. Most girls love anything pink, so if they don't get one of my pink scarves, they may have a meltdown. If your students get to choose props and you want to avoid meltdowns, have scarves or shakers that are all the same color, or remove the pink ones if you think the students might fight over them. Become used to being one step ahead of your class. Know what they're going to do before they do it in order to avoid unwanted behavior and potential accidents. Now, know what is fun. This point goes along with the first point. Not only know what the preschooler is going to do before they do it for behavioral and safety reasons, but you need to actually go inside their minds so they have fun. What is fun for the preschooler? What do they like to do? What makes them laugh? Here are a couple ideas I'll share with you. The first one is, again, that preschoolers like to run around. I don't like my students to actually run around in class, therefore I make sure I have them move in other ways. They can chasse, skip, jump, and leap around. Have them move in a way that's related to dance. Make sure they all go around the room in the same direction. If not, there might be a collision. I train my students from day one to all go around the room counterclockwise whenever we chasse or skip around. Second, preschoolers like to make believe. Girls usually love anything related to princesses, fairies, or magic. Superheroes and pirates are also a hit, especially if you have boys in your class. Pretending to be animals is great for both boys and girls. Choose activities and dances that relate to subjects children love. If you have many high energy yet controlled games along with a creative program, you'll have a super fun class. Then double check to see if your students are actually having fun. Once you've created a great curriculum with what you think are many fun and engaging activities, how do you know if your students will actually enjoy what you have planned? If your students are having fun, it will be so much easier to have a smooth and controlled class. They'll want to listen to you and will be eager to learn. Here are some ways to tell if your students are having fun. The way to tell if students are having fun is if they look attentive. Look at their faces. Are they looking at you? Are they smiling? Do their faces look bright? Or are they going off to do their own activity? Ask them questions about the activity. Do they answer you? If they're not paying attention, you need to quickly assess what you're doing. Have you spent too long on one activity? Are you moving too slowly? You don't have to necessarily change the activity you're doing. Maybe you just need to raise your energy level. Keep in mind, if one student or even a couple students are not listening, that doesn't always mean the class is not going well. Preschoolers all have their moments of not listening. Look at the rest of the group. Do you have most of the children's attention? If so, you're probably okay. Just remind the ones who are not following what they should be doing. If most of the students don't look engaged and simply raising your energy level isn't working, you may have to change what you're doing. Sometimes groups need to take a break, move around the room, get their sillies out, or shake a parachute. Everyone needs a break from time to time, even preschoolers. Don't just teach your class and go through the curriculum. Always watch the students and be ready to adjust if necessary. If you're teaching the same class to different children, remember all classes will be different. Some classes are quiet and others are more squiggly. You can't sit and stretch for a long time with a squiggly class. Keep control over your students by not letting their energy take over the class. For shy or quiet groups, energize them by laughing and jumping around. For classes with too much energy, try to channel that energy into an interesting and engaging creative activity. We always want the children to have fun. I believe this is our biggest job. If your class is fun and controlled, your students will come back for more. Knowing the minds of your preschool students keeps your class moving in the right direction. What I've given you will keep you one step ahead all the time. Of course, there is so much more to be learned. You'll have to learn how to read your students on your own through experience. Thanks for joining me in this video on getting to know your preschool ballet students. In the next video, we'll talk about special tricks that I use that are invaluable to ensure you have a class with amazing listeners.